What's up, Guardians? There's currently 12 days left until Edge of Fate. So today, we're breaking into our top 15 heavy weapons for Edge of Fate. Now, we're doing 3 weapons per weapon type in this video, kind of similar to how I've been doing the last couple videos. This is going to be focused on Expert Plus content, Expert Nightfalls, Master Nightfalls, Grandmasters, Raids, Dungeons, etc. In addition to that, for any of the weapons that you see on this list that have some kind of exotic that boosts them for boss damage, assume that weapon is included in this review. For example, the rocket launchers will have Gjallarhorn's boost included for any kind of boss damage situation. If you're not using Gjallarhorn, you probably shouldn't be using the rockets in the first place. Now, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and break into number 15, which is going to be the Slammer. The Slammer is on here for one reason only, and that's because it is probably the best eager edge sword. You have other options, half-trues, the other half, falling guillotine. However, the Slammer has cold steel, and that's kind of the best thing that you could do with this. You're not using this for boss damage. If you were, you wouldn't be using eager edge. So I kind of lean into that utility as the thing that you want to go for here. But you could replace this with any other eager edge sword, just for movement tech, jumping puzzles, things like that. Definitely something to keep around, but not much more to go into than that. So at 14, we have our first grenade launcher. Grenade launchers kind of suffer because they don't have something like Gjallarhorn that would boost them up and give them more damage. So they're kind of on their own in terms of what their damage is. Whatever perks they get, that determines how good they are. Now, they have pretty good damage per second, a little bit lower on the total damage. Damage perks do help a lot with this case, but normally they're about equal with rockets if the rockets have Gjallarhorn with matching perk setups. Caraxes is here at number 14 because as a rapid fire, it has really good DPS and good total damage. It is a niche pick. It is here specifically if you need a grenade launcher in a situation where you have Surrounded. A Surrounded's a 47% damage buff, which is the most you will see on a grenade launcher at this time. Caraxes is craftable raid weapon from Root of Nightmares, and you can get Envious Assassin on here to triple your magazine. That'll get you up to 15 with no mag boosting perk. If you take something like Backup Mag, you can get even higher, as well as if you take something like Augmented Drum or Mini Frags. This means you are able to output the most damage in a situation where you're surrounded, or if you get Harmonic Resonance proc, which is the origin trait for this, which gives you bonus damage against Lucent Hive and Dread. And I guess Nezarec, but you're not using this against Nezarec usually anyways. But you'll get 10% if you have 2 other weapons with the trait or conditional finality equipped. So this is a very good niche pick. It comes out more often than you'd think it would. Similar to Briars in Ghost of the Deep. There's just times where having a harmonic weapon or a surrounded weapon comes in handy, and this kind of meets both of those. At 13, we have Summum Bonum, the Arc Waveframe sword from Salvation's Edge. This was the first Waveframe sword we got, not counting Ergo Sum, which I guess you could get access to first, but this was the first legendary one. It has probably the best rolls on a Waveframe. There is Abyssal Edge, which is the Strand one from Heresy, but I kind of like the perks on Summum Bonum more. We've got Chaos Reshaped on here, which is a really good damage perk. Chain Reactions here for some mag clear if you really want to do that, which we learned today is getting buffed on swords by like double, triple damage, which like pop off if that's what you want to do. And you do have Surrounded here, which is great for that damage perk. It's not going to match Bequest in terms of damage because it has a lower impact, and Bequest is just a better sword for some reason. But you still get things like Relentless Strikes and Attrition Orbs here, which is also getting buffed next patch. So this is a great all-around sword. I kind of like the wave frames. I don't use them very often because we don't use swords very often. This is a great one to have. Does good damage. Has some of the best perks, most convenient to use. So that gets it number 13 on this list. 12th place goes to Corrective Measure, which is our like 4th good Void machine gun in the game. We're still waiting for a solar one. At least we got an arc one this season. But yeah, this is a Void Corrective Measure from Bolt of Glass. This thing is now a 600 RPM instead of a 450. 450, I think, is still my preferred archetype for machine gun. 600s are right behind, though. Way better than 360s, a lot better than the 720s, whatever the fastest fire rate is. Don't even remember anymore, 900s. This thing is no commemoration, though. We don't have Reconstruction. Killing Tally as a roll, which commemoration just does. This at least has some really interesting and unique perks. We do have Redirection in the left column, which means that this thing can chew up some adds and then some majors, getting 15 double damage shots if you wind it up all the way. And that can stack with something like Killing Tally, so Killing Tally Redirection can double stack those perks, which is going to be really powerful. One for all is here as well. Or you could go for something interesting like Demoralize if you want the AoE weaken. Maybe take Demoralize and Destabilizing rounds. Or you can take Rewind rounds here if you want to lay into a boss with Killing Tally or something like that. Generally, though, I think Destabilizing rounds, Killing Tally is your most useful one. Corrective Measure is different than Commemoration because it does have Destabilizing rounds. That's kind of why I picked Destabilizing rounds as my main pick here. So that with Killing Tally sounds like a great roll. But again, you could take that with One for All. The Explosion I tested does not proc One for All, probably because it's a void thing instead of the weapon damage, but they still work together. It just takes a little extra hoop to jump through. I think maybe you'll be better off taking Redirection, Killing Tally, and like super endgame content, but in the majority of it, Destabilizing Killing Tally's the roll. You still benefit from Time Loss Magazine, giving you double mag size, giving up to that 146 on here. If you turn that off, you'd be at 73. So you have to reload much more often with this. But Time Loss Magazine can give you a free reload and double mag size for a while. And you get the extra super energy, so you're double dipping with a machine gun into the extra mag size being helpful and the extra super energy being helpful to reproc it. Now, number 11 is an interesting pick. I took Faithkeeper here, and this is because I wanted a precision frame rocket on the list, because there are certain scenarios where you just want to have a tracking rocket. And I would prefer not to take tracking as a perk on my rocket. I prefer to just have a tracking frame and dip into real perks with it. You could go for a tracking rocket if you have a hothead that you want to take that has tracking. Sure, you could do that. However, the damage is much closer on these precision frames than it has been in a long time. They got buffed a couple of patches ago, so they're only like 10,000 damage behind on average. So this Faithkeeper is our most up-to-date precision frame rocket. From Episode Echoes, it is void, it is craftable. We get the red border. The origin trait, not make or break here, but it helps with some ad clear stuff. Or if you're killing a major with it, it can kill some extra things nearby, tack some extra damage on. I think Clown Cartridge, Explosive Light's your best bet. You're going to get most of your reserves with Explosive Light if you have it enhanced. Clown Cartridge will basically double your DPS by letting you do 2 shots per mag. You could take autoloading if you want to do some swaps, but autoloading is slower than it used to be. You could take Field Prep for some extra rockets and some manual reloads, but I think Clown Cartridge is your best pick. In the right column, the only other option I would consider taking is Bipod. That'll get you some better burst damage on champions or something like that, but Explosive Light's going to really round you out for total damage and DPS. Breaking into the top 10 here, we have Doom Petitioner. This is a void 3-round burst linear fusion rifle from Season of the Wish. You'll have to do the Wish Keeper mission to get this to drop now. If you have the red border, you can always just craft it. Now this has Surrounded, has a nice pick for that, similar to Caraxus was, but this has Precision Instrument on here, which will give you up to 30% bonus damage if you enhance it for your headshots, as long as you keep hitting shots. With a 3-round burst, it charges in like 2 hits, so you can ramp this up very quickly. And then you take something like Envious Assassin here to give you triple the reserves, or if you do reconstructions, you'll get double the mag size. I prefer Envious though, because I'm usually killing things with a lot of weapons, and I would rather just have the triple over the double. You can do whichever of those you really prefer, but that's pretty much the only role on here. But this thing can do great against champions in GM content. This thing will do great against raid bosses or dungeon bosses if you need a legendary linear. These have better DPS than the single shot linears, but they have lower total damage, so it really depends on the length of your phase. Also, the origin trait sucks, so don't worry about that. Coming in at number 9 is an oldie but a goodie at Bequest. Now, it's a bit niche. Swords are not meta in anything but very specific encounters. If you are able to do sword DPS and you are able to do Surrounded, Bequest is your best sword. You just take Surrounded and Relentless Strikes. Brain Inheritance gets you 2% ability energy per hit, so you can throw some extra grenades, maybe some extra class abilities, and that's pretty much all you're looking for here. That's the one thing it does. It has a higher damage than every other sword in the game because they just gave it a higher impact stat for no reason. So go to Deepstone Crypt, pick this up. This is probably the best sword you're going to be able to use in like 80% of content. From 9th to 8th place, we see a huge jump in potency as we move to Pro Memoria, the Strand Machine Gun from the Pale Heart. This is a 600 RPM, which is a great frame. This is the first we had, and it felt really good to use. I don't know the exact numbers of how it breaks up with a 450, but they're close enough that I appreciate both of them. This thing has some really great rolls for clearing out ads, not so much for boss damage. If you're doing champions, you probably want maybe Frenzy or Desperate Measures in here. I think bait and switch on a machine gun is a trap. Using the time to proc bait and switch, you could probably just be using Frenzy and just dump more shots into more enemies. So I personally take Desperate Measures on mine because I was using this with Prismatic. You're doing Consecration Slams, you're doing Hunter Melees, you're doing Lightning Surges. Desperate Measures is going to be procced pretty much all the time, giving you up to 30%, and it refreshes on kill. So it's close enough to killing tally. You just have to wind it up a different way. And then I paired that with Envious Assassin personally because I really like, the triple mag sizes. Once we get the backup mag on there and everything else, you can get up to 200 rounds in the mag, which is great. Lets you lay on enemies. If you want, you can do Reconstruction as well. That will get you up to double the mag size. And in the new patch, instead of being 10% per 4 seconds or whatever we're at now, not 5.5 seconds, I'm sorry, really long time. Instead of 10%, it's going to up to 25%. So it will load faster. This is going to be much more useful going forward. That said, in the right column, you can also take Dragonfly if you really want to lean into that ad clear. But personally, I think Desperate Measures is your best pick on the right side, Envious or Reconstruction on the left side. These guns have one of the best origin traits. Personally speaking, Dealer's Choice stacks based on every weapon you have from the Pilheart. It includes Ace of Spades, Kvostov, and Still Hunt, but doesn't work with those. But you'll get up to 3% super energy per kill if you have multiple weapons equipped. So going into Edge of Fate, when we have the new super stat, you can get up to 4.5% per kill if you have 3 of these weapons equipped, on top of whatever else you have going on, orbs, damage, exotics. So I think this is a great thing to look out for, especially if you're going to be building into super energy and you want to spam super stats. This is a good weapon set to look into. Our second grenade launcher is number 7 here, and we have Bittersweet. This was the first grenade launcher that came out with Envious Arsenal bait and switch, and it is an adaptive, so it's a little bit worse than our top spot. I think you all know what it is, but this thing comes out with arc. It is strong, is a heavy hitter. You can get it in episode Revenant without having to do a dungeon, go into endgame. You can just farm this right now and get it. The origin trait is, I wouldn't say the best, but it's pretty useful. Now, you have to get a kill with a weapon with this origin trait, and then break an orb that spawns to get 1.5 times the mag capacity. If you are using this with another episode Revenant weapon, you can spawn an orb with that, say the hand cannon, the scout, the SMG, and when you break it with one of those weapons, this weapon will get 1.5 the mag size. So you can go in there and you'll hit this, and you'll have up to, 11 in the mag. So for one burst, it's pretty good for that. You're not going to be making a lot with this because it's a heavy weapon. You're not really killing ads with it. But in champion stuff where you're killing things with our weapons pretty often, you won't have to reload this super much. If you're doing a rotation, the Envious Arsenal really comes in handy to speed it up. But I wouldn't take anything else on this. Maybe you could consider jolting feedback if you want to do arc, or killing tally if you're going to be killing a lot of things, but not your main goal. In 6th place, we have Scintillation, which is a Strand 3-round burst linear. This is from GM's Nightfalls. I don't think it is the easiest DPS the way Doom Petitioner is. You have to work a little bit more for it, but it puts up comparable damage. They're about the same. You might proc bait and switch one shot earlier, so you'll have 30% a little bit sooner than you would Doom Petitioner's Precision Instrument, but they'll be pretty much neck and neck. You can take Envious Arsenal on this. Sorry, you can take Envious Assassin on this, or you could take Rewind rounds, which is a bit lower maintenance. It also has access to Surrounded. You have Vice Stinger, though, which will auto-load some ammo in here when you're firing shots. I prefer the Void Heavy because the Surges match better. I like a lot of Void Specials more than I like Strand Specials, if you're doing Surge matching to have bonus damage on all your weapons. But in a vacuum, bait and switch will give you an extra shot of damage that Precision Instrument won't. And that's why this is higher, but I still think Doom Petitioner is the easier to use, close enough option. Immediately above that, at number 5, we have our best linear fusion rifle. And this is best because I kind of prefer it. I love the origin trait. This is your best total damage for a linear. This thing's up there with like machine guns for like total damage. There's not much that has more damage for your ammo than this. However, it does take a bit longer than most weapons to dump its damage, about a minute. Maybe 50 seconds, I think, is the total time. But that is Cataclysmic from Vow of the Disciple, Solar, Crafter, craftable linear fusion rifle. So this thing, you take bait and switch, you take 4 times the charm. That's it. It's the only roll you need. You do a little bit of backup mag to get 6 in the mag that lets you do 10 shots without having to reload. Then once you go and proc bait and switch, you'll pretty much get to go for another 10 shots. You can take accelerated here to do your DPS up. You can take liquid here to get your total up, but usually I would say accelerated is a better pick. I wouldn't go further in the mag because if you increase your mag more, you fire more of your real ammo instead of more 4th times ammo. So 6 is that sweet spot that you want to aim for. This is, I think, well deserving of 5th place. Now, the only reason Cataclysmic is number 5 and it is my most used boss killing heavy weapon is because Commemoration takes the place as my number 1 killed heavy weapon. This thing has so many kills. It is my highest level weapon. I'm going to check dim and tell you what that is right now, and I'll put it up on the screen. So my red border Commemoration, which I did not craft as soon as Deepstone became craftable, it took me a while to go in there and get the red borders, is level 125, and I did not like dump resources into this thing. This is like the ultimate machine gun. It is a bar to pass if you are a machine gun, and it has yet to be passed. I don't know what it's going to take for you to be a better machine gun than this, but it's going to have to be a magical weapon, and we're going to replace every other machine gun with it. Why is Commemoration so good? 1, the origin trait. Bray Inheritance is one of the strongest origin traits. Gives you ability energy on every hit. On Commemoration specifically, it's only like 0.4%, but when you have 400 rounds, that's a lot of percent over an entire strike or a raid. Paired with that, you have the best damage perk on machine guns, I'm pretty sure, which is Killing Tally, 30%. Killing 3 red bars with the machine gun is like the easiest thing to do with them. And then you can just swing it onto a boss, onto a champion, onto an elite, or any other thing in your way that has too much HP. And you get 30% as long as you keep the weapon out, as long as you don't reload. Reconstruction bypasses that reload. Now, it used to be that you could wait 4 seconds and you get 10% per second. Since the Reconstruction nerf, it was a little bit worse because you couldn't really rely on that auto loading in between fighting red bars and stuff. With it going to 25%, you're going to get a little bit more reward for waiting for that proc to keep your killing tally up. You could take Redirection here. It's not a bad option. You can't pair it with a second perk. I think Commemoration is a little bit better. I think Corrective Measure is a little bit better with Redirection because you can pair it with a second damage perk. You do have better uptime on Commemoration. But 4th times, if you want to really make a machine gun that's going to do decent boss damage, you do 4th times with like firing line on this, and that'll get you a lot of total damage. It's going to take forever to dump it all though, so I don't really recommend that. Or you can take Dragonfly. Dragonfly killing tally is a really fun one. I have that in my vault specifically if we get a raid encounter in a contest raid with way too many ads and they need more ad clear than Reconstruction killing tally. It is, I think, probably the best ad clear heavy in the game. I don't think anything comes better than that. Maybe you could argue for a heavy wave frame, but you're not going to have anywhere near as much ammo as you are in Commemoration. This thing is crazy. So you can probably hear some bias in that, but easily one of the best heavies of all time and easily the best machine gun of all time. So 3rd place, we are cheating very slightly. I say we're cheating because there are 2 versions of the same weapon in this slot. 3rd place is going to Cold Comfort. Both the new version from Rite of the Nine and the old version from the original Ghost of the Deep. These both have 2 very different god rolls, but I think they're both very valid god rolls for different situations. I do think you need Gallarhorn for these to really kick in and to matter. That's kind of just how rockets work these days. If you're not using Gallarhorn, these are going to be worse than our best grenade launcher. But if you are using Gallarhorn, these are very, very competitive options with that. They are not the best rockets. There's an obvious pick for the best rocket. But for example, let's look at the Rite of the Nine version. We have Envious Arsenal and Bait and Switch on a rocket. What more could you want? Basically the best damage perk, the easiest to proc damage perk, with Envious Arsenal, which means you basically never have to reload this thing apart from shooting your other weapons. And you have Restoration Ritual, so your first volley gets 2 rockets as long as you do the finisher or res somebody. And you can take Elemental Honing here if you so choose. If you're into honing, that'll be 35%, get you a little bit more damage. This is competitive with Heathens in terms of actual damage. The issue and the reason that it's not higher than Heathens is Heathens has the better origin trait. That's it. Now, the regular Cold Comfort has a totally different god roll and has a little bit of a different purpose. If you take the original version, you can use Envious Assassin to get 3 in the mag, and then Restoration Ritual to get 4 in the mag, essentially, on top of Bait and Switch. This is better in the short term than Heathens. This will be, if you have a really tight damage phase, you're doing Atrax, if you're going to use a rocket for some reason, this is your DPS rocket. 4 full damage rockets back to back. The only way that competes with Heathens is if Heathens is, dumping 2 rockets, popping the super after, which is going to be lowering your DPS if you're taking the time to do that, to reload and then fire off more. So this thing is kind of in a league of its own when it comes to pure DPS. And the reissued one is just barely second place for rocket damage. Now, in second place overall, we have the free given away, as long as you have done the dungeon, god roll of Wakegate, VS Chill Inhibitor. Now, this thing is only second place because Galahorn exists. If Galahorn was not in the game, this would be the best weapon. If you are not using Galahorn, this is the best weapon in the game for heavy. It will kill champions, it will kill elites, it will kill bosses. Now, the total damage is not cataclysmic. However, the DPS is extremely high. Looking at the weapon itself, we have Bray Legacy as an origin trait. It doesn't contribute very much to this weapon. You're getting ability energy for your least chargeability. It is a good origin trait on its own, but you have to be pretty much using the ammo constantly to really see some benefit from it. It is 3.5% per hit, which is nothing to scoff at, but it's not like something you're going to rely on like you would with your primary or even your special. Realistically, the role they're giving away, Envious Arsenal Bait and Switch, is like the perfect role. You can argue on if you want spike grenades or maybe mini frags, or you want to have a proximity grenades for something. Take proximity grenades, you're throwing. However, there are different versions of this you could go for if you want to really chase it. But the one that Bungie is giving away it's close enough. You really don't need to do anything else. And this will take you through any content in the game. It is overkill for most content in the game. Finally, first place, no surprise, Season's Vengeance, Vault of Glass rocket launcher. This thing gets every perk in the game. We're not even talking about, best damage perk, best reload perk. We have so many options that if you're not going for honing, you want to do bait and switch to use it on the solo class, go ahead. You want to take cluster bomb bipod to make some really weird ad clear rocket, go for it. You want to do overflow. I have an overflow bipod personally. I just think it's really funny to shoot a bunch of rockets at champions. You could do that. You can get 3 in the mag with that. And if you proc Time Lost Magazine, you can get up to 5 in the mag because it already increases your mag size. You compare that with bait and switch. You've got Vorpal for just killing champions. You've got Explosive Light if you want to rely on something a little bit less special and rotation heavy. Using this for GMs, Explosive Light's still good. And then Element of Honing, if you're on Prismatic or running a really good loadout for it, is obviously the best damage perk. So you even have auto-loading here if you just want to do a regular auto-loading rotation, Izzy's, maybe a high damage primary. So it's not only a combination of having the best damage perk and the best reload perk on a rocket, it is also having the best ad clear rocket and having the best anti-champion rocket. It has the best GM role. It has the best general use role. It has the best dedicated boss rotation role. It is the best rocket in the game, and in terms of flexibility, not even Chill Inhibitor competes. Now, you do need Galahorn for boss damage. Like I said, I'm going to harp on that. It is just a requirement and a reality of rockets. You're not going to be throwing if you're using, a Galahorn-less rocket in a regular raid or regular dungeon. But if you're doing Master, you're doing Contest, you're doing GMs, I would really consider taking something else, or just kind of relying on something that's not bait and switch, not focusing on it, taking a more powerful special weapon to make up the difference, and you'll be, good enough. This is the best weapon for taking advantage of Time Lost Magazine. Doubling your mag size on a rocket is much better than doubling your mag size on just about anything else. Rockets' hardest limit is their reload. Now, Envious Arsenal cuts that down, right? We're very big on cutting down reload times. We've used auto-loading rockets for so long, reconstruction rockets for so long, demo rockets for so long. Time Loss Magazine doubles the effectiveness of your Envious Assassin, right? Or your Envious Arsenal, giving you double the mag size per reload. So I don't know how we power creep rockets past this. I'm generally genuinely afraid of what a new rocket might look like in a year. But if you don't have a Heathens, go get a Heathens. That's my best bet. Now, any other person, go get Chill Inhibitor. Banshee's selling it. You have less than 2 weeks to go pick up a Chill Inhibitor. So you should get that. And if not, go get a Cold Comfort. Get your machine guns. Generally, once you get past that, as long as you have a comparable roll to most of these, you're going to be doing fine. I just put out a video today, and it was really funny because I was talking to my raid team this morning, like, do we really need to go out and get a Heathens for contest mode? Because is it just overkill to really dump on all these rockets and have all these perfect strats when we're probably just going to be running Queenbreaker anyways? Like, Queenbreaker is going to be enough for damage. That said, Sleeper is probably going to be enough for damage. We probably don't need to go and get most of anything apart from exotics, and we could probably be fine. And they just put out a video very similar where these weapons are like the top of the top rolls are seriously for if you're speedrunning, if you're doing master content and you want to do it as fast as possible, you really want to cinch these 2 phases in higher end content. So you don't need to go get a Heathens like this. If you get a Heathens and it's overflow, elemental honing, and you can only get to elemental honing 3, like, that's fine. You don't really have to worry about being at ×5 at all times. But in this case where I am saying it is the best weapon, it has to be the best weapon for these specific roles of honing and for bait and switch, because it is genuinely, numerically, the best thing in the game. But feel free to use what you like. If these things are like not interesting to you, find something that's interesting to you. As long as you have some way of skipping reloads or having bonus ammo and some bonus damage in there somewhere, you will have fun. And you'll be good enough for almost anything you can do in the game. Even GMs, you don't need anything better than corrective measure. You can run a GM with this and it will be perfectly fine. No one's going to kick you. Maybe an LFG, but your friends won't, I hope. I wouldn't. Unless. There you go. Top 15 heavy weapons. Let me know what you think. Are you using any of these? Do you have some different opinions on like the machine guns or what the best rocket is? Starting tomorrow, we're going to be going into exotic primaries, specials, and legendaries. And then we're going to be going into subclasses and some raids and dungeons and some other talks about other things for you to be using. So if you're interested in that, go ahead, drop a like, sub if you really want, turn on the bell so you can see it. But I'm going to be putting them out every day, so hopefully they show up in your box. Leave a like just so I know that you are interested in that. And obviously leave a comment if you have anything interesting to say, or if I said something that was glaringly wrong, but I play a lot. I have too much time in this game, so I feel like I know most of it. But yeah, I will see you all again very, very soon. Coming up at number 13, we have Somum Banana. Simum the banana.